Yo, what's up everybody? It's DFS Dudes back for another edition of the Deep Dive. Today is Tuesday, August the 20th. 15 games on this slate for us to choose from. Some high implied run totals, no Coors Field on this slate. And Clayton Kershaw in possibly a chalk spot. I mean, there's some pitchers we'll talk about, but there's some pitchers that I think could be in some tougher matchups that are some of the higher priced guys on the slate. So we'll get into that. We'll figure out who the best stacks are. But before we do that, 15 days until the NFL kicks off on Thursday night with the Bears and Packers. 15 days until our first regular NFL slate. And just a little bit of advice that I'll give you guys for free who are not going to roll over to our NFL membership before I throw the NFL promo up there. Don't load up on the Thursday night game if you're playing the Thursday slate. We've talked all MLB season about field leverage. There are so many people who, it's like money burning a hole in their pocket. Can't wait to get exposure to the Thursday night game so they can see their lineups at the top of the leaderboard. They'll stack that game 6 ways from Sunday. And there's only been a couple of times where people have been overexposed to a Thursday night game, and you look at winning lineups and they've got more than like one or two players from the Thursday night games. Let's think about it for a second. All the games on Sunday in one hand and one game on Thursday. Like, you may need one player from that game. So if you build Thursday night lineups, my recommendation is to take an Aaron Rodgers lineup. You know, load a receiver up in a lineup. Load, a quarterback receiver stack in a lineup. Like, if you're going to build multiple lineups, don't stack up that game because you're just going to burn money. If you really feel like you've got an urge to stack up lineups in that Thursday night game, hop in our Discord. I'll give you my PayPal address, and you could just PayPal me that money because I'll put it to better use than you burning it by stacking up the Thursday night game. I mean, if you want to really play that, play the single game slate, the single game contest, but don't get in the Thursday night big tournaments that are Thursday through Sunday and just stack up that game. Don't do it. So with that said, we are rolling out our NFL package. We've got 15 days until the NFL kicks off. Use the promo code NFL 2019 on the NFL Luxury Box checkout page. NFL 2019. Get half off. Half off. NFL 2019, I think it's a little less than half off. I think it's $2.99 regular price for the entire season. We will roll. Here's the savings you get. VIP membership is $49.99 a month. If you multiply that by 6 months, that's $300. We're going to give you access to all sports, NASCAR, MMA, PGA, MLB, NFL. All of the content, access to the optimizer, slate breakdowns, the Deep Dive podcast, premium articles, core plays, ownership projections from UF Collective, cash game lineup, access to all sports for the duration of the NFL season for $175. You can't beat that. You cannot beat that price. Use the promo code NFL 2019. Save a lot of money and stop losing money on NFL DFS by making bonehead moves like I just told you not to do. Don't stack up the Thursday night game because you want to see your lineups at the top Thursday and Friday, and then watch them, and Saturday, and on Sunday morning watch them just drop and not cash. All of the content, all of the tools for all sports, one price for 6 months. Excuse me. So, with that said, let's hop into today's MLB slate. Like I said, 15 games on the slate today. There's no real weather concerns outside of Cincinnati. There's some rain moving through there. Don't think this is a PPD opportunity. Great American Small Park, it's the summertime. Who's on the slate? What are the games tonight? FanDuel's running a tournament I don't recommend playing, which is $9.99. They're giving away $50,000. Second place is $15,000. And then you get $16 if you cash. We talked about that. You're not getting 2 for 1 of your money. The FanDuel tournaments right now, they're not great. Throw a couple entries here. It's almost like just play the quarter or play cash games only. But we're going to break this slate down. I just think tonight's tournament is, I'm not interested. You want me to put 150 lineups in? We've talked about how you want them to be like a wide swath of entries. And really difficult if you cash a 40% clip to make your money back because it's not 2 to 1 on your money. So Washington's at Pittsburgh, Strasburg against Archer, Kansas City's at Baltimore, Brad Keller against Dylan Bundy. The Padres are in Cincinnati, Sonny Gray against Cal Quantrill. Cleveland visits the Mets, Bieber against Mats. Seattle's at Tampa Bay. Matt Whistler will go for Seattle against Diego Castillo for Tampa Bay. Philadelphia's at Boston. Nola against Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson, you talk about his last start. His last start came in a day game against Cleveland. He went 2 2/3. Back-to-back starts of 2 2/3 innings pitch. Is not a guy you want to load up. It'll be a bullpen game. I kind of like Philadelphia in this spot, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Miami is at Atlanta. Dallas Keuchel against Eliezer Hernandez. I can't recommend using Keuchel here. I can't. His last outing, he struck out 7 against the Mets. Did a decent job. I've loved the Mets all year against left-handed pitching, so you have to give him credit. It's a good start against a team who's hit left-handed pitching well. But really, he's got bookend starts. 12 strikeouts against Kansas City back on July 23rd. 7 strikeouts against the Mets on August 14th. 43 on August 14th. 52 on July 23rd. And in between that, 4 earned runs against Washington, 3 earned runs against Cincinnati, 8 earned runs against this Miami team. Garrett Cooper in the cleanup spot. I absolutely love today as a one-off play. But Keuchel's not a guy that I'm looking at. Milwaukee's at St. Louis. Gio Gonzalez against Michael Wacha. The Angels in the second half of a doubleheader. Currently winning right now, I think 4 or 5-0. Jaime Barria against Brock Burke. Load up Anaheim. This is a premier stack today. Texas already has a bad bullpen. You've got a bullpen game for Texas, and their bullpen's not very good. Anaheim's a chalky cash game stack, premier stack. The Giants open up a series with the Cubs. Cole Hamels will go against Tyler Beede. Detroit against Houston. Aaron Sanchez will look to rebound off a rough start in his last outing where he was kind of a chalky play. Gave up 6 earned runs to the Oakland Athletics. Before that, 36 fantasy points, 46 fantasy points, 35 fantasy points. 10 strikeouts, 6 strikeouts, and 6 strikeouts. Seattle and Baltimore were in there. I like him today in the start against the Detroit Tigers. The White Sox are at Minnesota. Michael Pineda against Reynaldo Lopez. Here's the funny thing about Reynaldo Lopez. It's a really funny thing. You take a look at his starts, and the guy's not been impressive this year. He's just not been impressive. If you look at his biggest fantasy outputs for Reynaldo Lopez, they're not against the Minnesota Twins. -4. That was back on May the 24th. He's been like, the funny thing about him is he's been the most inconsistent guy in the world. Detroit's a team he's absolutely dominated. He's had some success against Kansas City. 19 fantasy points against the the Anaheim Angels. 38 against the Oakland Athletics. I can't see this guy being a sneaky play today, and I have a hunch that people are going to look at him as a sneaky tournament play. Good luck. Good luck. Colorado's at Arizona. Alex Young for the Diamondbacks. Kyle Freeland for the Colorado Rockies. And I really look for this to be a barn burner. I would stack this game up in some lineups today. The Yankees are at Oakland. Domingo Germán against Homer Bailey. And the last game of the night is the Blue Jays at the Dodgers. Kershaw against Reed Foley. Where are we going on this slate? Look, let's just break it down and let's just be honest about it. Kershaw's 12-2 on FanDuel. That feels really expensive. Bieber's 11,000 against a Mets team making a playoff push for this wild card. It feels uneasy. Sonny Gray has pitched outstanding this year. He's 10-4. He's at home against a Padres team that is not only pesky, but it's Great American Small Park. That doesn't feel comfortable. Strasburg, 10,000, not coming off a great start. Only 4 strikeouts and 5 2/3 against Cincinnati in his last outing. He's 10,000. Aaron Nola in Boston doesn't feel magical. Michael Pineda's 9-4. There's not a chance in hell that I'm paying 9-4 for Michael Pineda. I don't care if he's facing the White Sox. I'm not paying 9-4 for Pineda. The only time you'd use Pineda in this spot is because, one, it's against Chicago White Sox and there's strikeout upside. But at 9-4, if he was 7-8, I would get the argument. Archer at 8-7 against Washington, I want nothing to do with that. Aaron Sanchez feels like a rebound spot. I would get some tournament exposure to him, especially facing Detroit. He's at home. Matt's against Cleveland at 8-2. I'm not a fan of that. Keuchel 7-8. Not a fan of that. I mean, I do like Cole Hamels against the Giants. But there's some Giants I also like as well. To me, there's only a couple of really good options on the slate that I can really get behind and feel comfortable with. I don't know how many people realize that Domingo Germán is 16-2. He's 16-2. And at 9.9 on FanDuel, you can get 4x out of this guy. He can get you 40 fantasy points. He's done it a lot this year. 42 against Detroit, 40 against Kansas City, 48 against Minnesota, 52 against Baltimore, 43 against the Mets, 49 against the Blue Jays, 40 against Boston, 46 against Boston, 46 against Baltimore. And he can get you fantasy points. He can strike out a ton of guys. Where he struggles is with walks. I mean, you've got to really go back and look. And he's had 3 starts this year. His first start against Detroit, he walked 1. His second start of the year was against Baltimore. He walked 2. His third start was against Chicago White Sox. And he threw 2 innings and walked none. Outside of that, he has walked at least 3 hitters in every single game. 2 times this year, he's walked 9 guys. He walked 8 2 starts ago against Toronto. It's not comfortable. The guy's 16-2. Homer Bailey is on the other side of this. He could get in all kinds of trouble, or he could just go out there and he could have, a 3 or 4 walk game, pitch through it, give up 4 or 5 hits, strike out 6-7, get you 46 fantasy points. Clayton Kershaw is the safest play. That's the cash game play. And it's very uneasy. It's very uneasy. Pitching's difficult on this slate. Yes, there's some big name, high dollar pitchers on this slate, but it's not the best matchups. It's really not the best matchups. You have to like Cole Hamels a little bit. The price tag is 7.3. He's facing the Giants. This is not a juggernaut team. Yeah, they're making a playoff push. He's 6-4, the 3.69 ERA this year. 107 strikeouts and 109 innings pitched. The K upside is there. He hasn't looked great. He has not looked great since the month of June. The month of June, and 3 of his 4 starts, he put up more than 40 fantasy points. The end of June, June 28th, is where it kind of started falling apart. And then he went on the DL. And then he came back. Okay start in 5 innings against Milwaukee, 33 fantasy points. 4 earned runs against Cincinnati. That's at Cincinnati, small ballpark. 8 earned runs against the Phillies at Philadelphia, small ballpark, on August 14th. The Phillies made a switch. They have a new hitting coach. The new hitting coach is their ex-manager, Charlie Manuel. This guy, if you just want to watch entertainment, just YouTube the guy. and just watch a Charlie Manuel press conference. The guy's farted at press conferences. This guy's going to loosen up a team. He knows a shitload about baseball and the game of baseball. He knows a lot about hitting. It's no surprise that you put a guy like that who's been in their front office, who took him to the World Series, won a World Series, you make him the hitting coach. Everybody loves him. Really likable, funny guy. Knowledgeable about baseball. Throw those two out. I think Cole Hamels can get on track here. And at 7.3 in tournaments, put it this way. Cole Hamels against the Giants. Right? Cole Hamels against the Giants. It makes you feel a little uneasy. Okay? Do you feel any more confident in Herman against the Athletics, Nola against Boston, Strasburg against the Pirates, Bieber against the Mets, and Kershaw at 12-2 against the Blue Jays? They're all uneasy matchups. The difference is Cole Hamels is 7.3 on FanDuel. Hamels is a guy I like a lot. Hamels is a guy I like a lot. And we start to break this thing down a little further. Take a look. Kansas City at Baltimore. There's not a pitcher from that game that we're going to use, even though Brad Keller has been okay. You look at the ISOs against him, a 125 ISO against lefties, a 150 ISO against righties. His K percentages, there's no K upside there. You look at Washington and Pittsburgh, and that's Strasburg. Strasburg has decreased the ISOs quite a bit, but he's having a hard time finishing hitters. And you take a look at Strasburg, you take a look at the previous starts he's had. I mentioned the Cincinnati start. 4 strikeouts. At the Mets, 6 strikeouts in 7 innings. I mean, we know the upside of this guy, but, recently he's had a little bit of a hard time finishing hitters. He has not faced Pittsburgh this year. You kind of get through Josh Bell, I guess, and there's upside, but on a huge slate like this, you start to kind of figure out when you've got Clayton Kershaw and you've got Bieber and you've got Gray and you've got Strasburg and they're all over 10,000, you start to try to figure out where the value is on the slate. Like, how am I going to get the Angels or the Braves with these really high implied run totals with Clayton Kershaw? Where's the value at? And I'm going to tell you right now. One place to look for values with Pittsburgh. Let's check off some boxes here. Is it contrarian? Yeah. Are they cheap? Let's go through it. Josh Bell's 3,800 is probably one of the cheaper spots he's been in a long time. Hitting cleanup. Adam Frazier's leading off. He's 2,600. Colin Moran is hitting fifth. He's 2,500. I mean, you look at Moran recently in the month of August. I mean, he's put up fantasy points in almost every game. Talk about a guy who's due for a home run. Also, he hasn't had a home run since July 29th. It's been a while. Especially for a guy who's putting up, 9.5, 9, 15.2, 12.5, 6.5, 12.4 fantasy points. He's putting up fantasy points. Hasn't had a home run in a long time. He's 2.5 on FanDuel. You look at their outfield. Marte, yeah, he's 4,000. That's expensive. But Brian Reynolds is 3.3. Brian Reynolds, switch hitter. Hitting 326 this year. What a great find for them. Another guy. 9 fantasy points. 6.2, 6.2, 37.1, 18.7, 27.6, 6.5, 18.7, 30.9, 27.6, 15.4. I mean, that's his August. 4 homers in the month of August already. Five doubles. Handful of RBIs. 3,300. So there's some value in this Pittsburgh team going against Strasburg. It's extremely contrarian. It's just one of those things from a tournament player standpoint. You look at it, you're like, okay, where's some value? I can plug in Moran. I can plug in, Brian Reynolds. I can plug in Frazier leading off. There's some value there, right? So, from a pitching standpoint, it is not the prettiest of matchups for some of these pitchers. It's difficult. The Dodgers with a 5.6 implied run total. The Astros with a 5.7 implied run total. I reference the Astros for one simple fact. Aaron Sanchez, it just feels like a rebound spot, and it doesn't feel like a day that I want to get overly exposed to the pitchers that are above 10,000. Bieber, Strasburg. Kershaw, I get. It's a cash game play. But let's talk about his price tag at 12-2 on FanDuel. And I'm talking solely about cash here, okay? Cash. 10 strikeouts against Miami, outstanding start. 9 strikeouts against St. Louis, outstanding start. The last time Kershaw pitched, I said the same exact thing. You want to talk about a guy who's the model of consistency. It's been Kershaw. He has not gone one time this year less than 6 innings. Okay, we talk about checking out boxes. Quality start box. Check. Bonus points. He started 21 games. He's got 12 wins. You've got to go 5 innings in order to get a win. Does he give us the upside of a win and a quality start? Box checked. Strikeout upside? Box checked. He's placing Toronto. If you're going to be overexposed to anybody, it's got to be Kershaw, but now you've got to find the value. And we're talking about a slate here that if the field is overweight on Clayton Kershaw, meaning that you're underweight on him as compared to the field, where is the value that you're going to find to build up your lineups? Because if everybody's going to spend up on pitcher, they're going to go value with their stacks. So how do you out-leverage the field? Well, go value a pitcher in a large percent of your lineups and spend up on your position players. Okay? Who does that leave us with? I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Brad Keller against Baltimore, 8,000. Cole Hamels a 7.3 against the Giants. Aaron Sanchez at 8.5 against Detroit. Mid-tier to value plays. Extremely contrarian on the slate because Kershaw's been really good in his last 2 starts. He's the clear-cut cash game play today. That's just what it is. Let's talk about stacks. The Angels at 6.4. It's a bullpen game. They're a premier stack. There's some value to be had in that lineup, even if it's in a one-off situation. I'll talk about that in a minute. The Cubs, 6.2. The Braves, 5.9 against Hernandez. The Rangers, 5.7. The Twins, 5.7. The Astros, 5.7. The Phillies, 5.6. The Red Sox, 5.6. The Dodgers, 5.6. Arizona, 5.3. Milwaukee, 5.1. The Cardinals, 5.1. The Yankees, 5.1. The Orioles, 5. The Rays, 5. All of those teams have implied run totals over 5. Where is the value to go with Kershaw on this slate? Where is the value in the pitching spot to load up some of these? I mean, look, Anaheim's not cheap. The Braves aren't cheap. The Twins aren't cheap. The Astros aren't cheap. The Phillies aren't cheap. The Red Sox aren't cheap. The Dodgers aren't cheap. The Yankees aren't cheap. So what's the plan, right? Like, how do you... everything's everything. You want to talk about inflation and economy? I mean, let's take that and put it. Everything's inflated today. Run totals are up. Where do we buy low with upside on this slate? Well, I really think that you can do a couple of things. You can buy low and be contrarian, and you can try to buy low and get Kershaw and just fit the value pieces of lineups. When you do that, you also limit some of your upside. So let's talk about where the value's at. Which stacks have value in them today? Let's start with the team that's on top, Anaheim. Second half of a doubleheader. Who are some of the value plays in this lineup? Albert Pujols is 3,000. Renfroe just homered in the game that is going right now. And this season, he's got 15. He's got that's his fifth bomb at 2.9. You look at his recent history, the month of August, 18.4, 19.2, 6.5, 6.2, 9, 24.7. He's had a good August. He's 2.9. He's a switch hitter. He's under 3,000. Tice. He's 2,500. It seems like whenever he's in the lineup, he hits a home run. 6 bombs, 18 RBIs. He's hitting 202. Couple of monster games. He had a 40.9 outburst against Baltimore on July 28th. He had 38.2 this previous Sunday against the White Sox. Home run, 4 RBIs, run scored. He's 2.5. Tovar at the shortstop position, he's 2.2. But the big dogs, Mike Trout's 4.9, Justin Upton's 3.5, Ohtani's 3.8. Cole Calhoun will be pretty heavily owned because optimizers will love him at 3.3. So, Anaheim has some value. The Cubs, Schwarber 3.3, Pop. He'll be Hayward 3.2, Haps 3.1. There's some value there. Castellanos, yeah, he's 4,000. Baez 4,100. Chris Bryant 4,300. David Bodie 2,200. If Bodie's in the lineup today, it's a guy you got 2.2. He'll be a popular play. The optimizers will love him at 2.2. Rizzo's 4,200. I mean, the big guys are all heavy price tags. But that outfield, don't be afraid to stack the Cubs outfield of Schwarber and Hayward, Ian Happ if he's in there. Some combination of those guys. Don't be afraid to stack that up. Look for Bodie if he's in the lineup or not. Atlanta, high implied run total. Is there value from the Atlanta standpoint? Rafael Ortega's 2.5. He's in the lineup today. Ortega at 2.5. He hit the grand slam against the Dodgers on Sunday. 29.2 fantasy points. Left-handed hitter. They're high on this kid. He's got 2 starts, 3 bats in one of them, 4 bats in the other. 6 and 3 fantasy points. Then he had the big game with the grand slam. He's 2.5. Matt Joyce hitting in the 6th spot. He's 2.3. With Dansby Swanson out, Hecherivia is going to start today. He's hitting in the 7th spot. He's 2.6. And then McCann at 2.4 hitting in the 5th spot. So the Braves have some value to mix in there. What you have to do when you build your lineups in the optimizer, you've got to go in the starting lineups page and you've got to like some of these value players so that it forces those values in the lineup. Don't just let it default to some of the better values. Don't get caught. That's the point I'm trying to make here is make sure you're locking in like one premier player in these stacks. Lock in Freddie Freeman and generate 2 lineups. Lock in Albies and generate 2 lineups. Lock in Freeman and Albies and generate 2 lineups. So, there's some value to be had there. But that's the theme of the day. The theme of the day is that everything is overpriced and inflated. All the teams with high implied run totals. I mean, Mitch Moreland at 3,000 will probably be pretty popular. Vasquez has been hot this year. He's 2,700. But all the big bats, I mean, for Boston, Devers is 4.6, Betts is 4.4, Martinez is 4,000, Bogarts is 3.9. You look at Houston. Bregman's 46, Brantley's 45, Altuve's 44, Yordan Alvarez is 43, Springer's 42, Correa's 4,000, Gurriel's 3,800. That's pretty much their entire lineup over 4,000. You need value to go with it. You look at Minnesota, high implied run total. Polanco's 4.1, Kepler's 4, Cruz is 4, Rosario's 3.7, Sano's 3.5. Half their lineups over 3,600. I mean, Arizona's a good spot to look. Carson Kelly, 3,000. Escobar and Marte, they're over 4,000, obviously. Nick Ahmed's 3,700. Peralta at 3,400. I like Peralta today. Gerard Dyson at 2.9. You know, these are the guys and the spots and the stacks you got to kind of look at to pair up with these high implied run total stacks. So that's the theme of the day. From a pitching standpoint, look, I'm going to just summarize it like this. Clayton Kershaw deserves to be the top option today. He's pitched outstanding in his last 2 games. He's the model of consistency. Not one start this year has he gone less than 5 innings. He's gone at least 6 innings in every start. He's pitched into the 7th inning. He has 10, 12 strikeout upside. He's facing an opponent with high K percentages. If you want to be super contrarian, load up Toronto like we load up the Mets Memorial Day and just roll with it. If not, load up Kershaw. You have to find other players to differentiate yourself with. I'm going to tell you right now. Aaron Sanchez, Cole Hamels, a little bit of Brad Keller, and Domingo Germán are guys I'm looking at. From a stacks standpoint, the Angels are my number 1 stack. They're going to be everybody's number 1 stack. They have a high implied run total. They're playing in a great hitter-friendly environment, and it's a second half of a doubleheader. We've talked about that all year long. I'm not sold on the Cubs in this spot with the second highest implied run total. I just think that that's a little disrespectful to the Giants' bullpen. I don't see Bruce Bochy allowing Tyler Beede to give up 6 runs when they're in the middle of a pennant race without going to one of the top 3 bullpens in baseball. The Astros, the Phillies, the Red Sox. I mean, the Red Sox today, Aaron Nola has improved. Heavily right-handed lineup. You know, for me, the top stacks here, the Angels. I love the Braves. I like Houston. I like Minnesota. I like the Yankees against Homer Bailey. Over a 6 ERA in his career against the New York Yankees. I like Germán on that side of it. And I like the Dodgers. That's really where I'm at. It's not a great slate. The tournaments aren't great. Make sure you get some cash game exposure. Get Roto's cash game lineup. If you don't know where to find that, it's really easy. In the menu bar on the page, go to Daily Lineups, click MLB Daily Lineups. Boom, there it is. It updates about between 5 and 20 minutes before lock. So make sure you, in advance, save your entries. And then just do a mass edit on your entries via the app. Is really easy on your phone. Really easy to do it that way. All right, guys, I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, be cool. Keep it cashing. Peace out.